Was another quiet story hiding in plain was another quiet story hiding in plain sight. It lived inside her closets, her dressing rooms, and the careful way she chose every outfit. Clothes for Diana were never just clothes. They carried messages, comfort, and sometimes even protection. A simple dress could calm a nervous child. She often wore dresses that seemed simple. At first glance. Yet royal photographers later discovered tiny choices that were anything but ordinary. Sometimes she refused to wear gloves even though royal tradition expected them. At other times, she repeated the same dress again and again, which was almost unheard of in palace circles. Why would a princess quietly bend these rules? The answer slowly appeared as royal historians and biographers began studying her life more closely. Writers such as Andrew Morton and later royal commentators noticed that Diana used clothing almost like a private language. Without speaking a single word, she could show kindness, rebellion, humor, or even quiet sadness. It was a language stitched together with silk, buttons, pearls, and sometimes very surprising tricks. One famous example happened during the early years of her marriage to Prince Charles. At formal royal dinners, young princesses were expected to wear long gloves. Gloves created distance between the royal family and the public. But Diana quietly removed them. She once explained that she wanted to hold people's hands directly. If she visited a hospital or shook the hand of a child, she wanted skin-to-skin contact. The moment felt warmer and more human. It was a small wardrobe decision, yet it quietly changed how people saw royalty. Stories like this still surprise people today. If you enjoy learning these quiet details from royal history, you might consider subscribing to the channel. Many viewers say they enjoy sharing their own memories of watching Diana on television during the 1980s and 1990s. If you remember those moments, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Sometimes the smallest memories bring the clearest picture of that remarkable time. But Diana's wardrobe secrets went much deeper than removing gloves. Over the years, her closet slowly filled with dresses that carried hidden purposes. Some outfits helped nervous patients feel calm. Some protected her privacy when photographers waited outside every door. And some choices gently pushed against royal rules that had existed for generations. Each decision looked small, yet together they created a quiet revolution inside palace fashion. One of the earliest strange habits appeared when Diana first entered the royal spotlight in 1981. Designers noticed that she sometimes kept tiny weights sewn into the hems of certain skirts. At first this sounded odd. Why would a princess add weight to delicate fabric? The answer was surprisingly practical. Strong winds often rushed through palace courtyards and airport stairways. Photographers waited everywhere. A sudden gust could lift a skirt in an awkward way. According to several royal dressmakers, the hidden weights kept the fabric steady. The public never noticed, but Diana felt safer walking past hundreds of cameras. That small secret reveals something important about her life. From the outside, royal fashion looked glamorous. Yet behind every elegant step there was careful planning. How could a young woman move naturally while knowing every photograph might appear on the front page the next morning? Small wardrobe tricks helped her feel prepared. If you find these hidden details interesting, you are welcome to press subscribe so you do not miss future stories. Many historians continue discovering new facts about Diana's life even decades later, and viewers often share thoughtful comments that add their own memories to the conversation. Another unusual wardrobe habit appeared during hospital visits. Diana began choosing bright, cheerful colours, especially warm yellows, soft pinks, and gentle blues. Doctors later said these colours helped children feel less afraid. A dark formal suit could remind young patients of serious adults. but a friendly pastel dress felt softer, almost like sunshine entering the room. She also chose fabrics that moved easily when she sat beside a hospital bed. According to royal staff, Diana often knelt or crouched so her eyes met the child's eyes. Stiff clothing would make that simple act uncomfortable. Soft skirts and loose jackets allowed her to move freely. Many viewers who watched these visits on television still remember how natural she appeared. If you ever saw those moments, you might share your memory below. People around the world experienced those broadcasts differently, and hearing those reflections often adds warmth to the discussion. Yet another quiet wardrobe secret involved handbags. During crowded events, Diana sometimes carried a small clutch bag directly in front of her chest while stepping out of a car. At first, this looked like a simple habit, but designers later explained the clever reason. The bag protected her neckline from sudden camera flashes taken from low angles. These bags even earned a playful nickname among fashion editors. They called them cleavage bags. The phrase sounded humorous, yet it showed how carefully Diana thought about public moments. A small accessory could quietly protect dignity without anyone noticing. Fashion experts from houses like Dior and Versace later praised this instinct. They said Diana understood something many public figures learn only after years of mistakes. Clothing could guide the camera. A sleeve, a colour, or a handbag could change how the entire world saw a single moment. Still, the deeper stories of her wardrobe had not yet appeared, and some involved emotional signals sent quietly through colour and jewellery. Others revealed how Diana slowly gained confidence as the years passed. Each dress became part of a much larger personal journey. In time, these wardrobe choices would lead to moments that surprised even experienced royal reporters. One dress in particular would later shock the world on a summer evening in 1994. But that famous moment belongs to a deeper chapter of our story. Before we reach that turning point, there are several other strange details hidden inside Diana's closets. Some are charming, some are clever, and a few quietly reveal how lonely royal life could sometimes feel. One touching example involves a pearl bracelet she wore during several visits to hospitals treating patients with HIV/AIDS. During the late 1980s, fear and misunderstanding about the illness were still very common. Many people worried about simple contact. Diana deliberately chose jewellery that felt warm and approachable. Pearls reflected soft light rather than sharp sparkle. When patients saw her holding their hands, those gentle pearls moved slightly with each gesture. The moment looked calm and natural on camera. According to several nurses, the bracelet soon became a quiet symbol of comfort. These thoughtful wardrobe choices slowly changed how people around the world viewed the princess. She was not simply wearing beautiful clothing, she was using fashion to open emotional doors. Royal historian Tina Brown later wrote that Diana understood the camera better than many seasoned politicians. If the world watched every movement, she would guide what they saw. A colour could soften a tense moment. A familiar dress could show humility. By the early 1990s, something even more unusual began to happen. Diana started repeating outfits more often. In strict royal tradition, this was uncommon. New events usually required new clothing. Yet Diana sometimes wore the same dress several times, especially when visiting charities she cared about. According to aides, she believed the attention should stay on the cause, not on her wardrobe. That quiet decision surprised fashion writers at first, but many soon realized the message felt refreshing. The princess appeared more relatable, almost like any other woman choosing a favorite dress. If these reflections bring back memories for you, feel welcome to share them with others watching. Inside several of her jackets, small handwritten notes were sometimes tucked into the lining. According to former staff, the notes reminded her of the people she planned to meet that day. A name of a sick child, a short phrase about someone's story, or a gentle reminder to ask about a family member. And clothing again became part of her preparation for compassion. These quiet wardrobe secrets remind us that fashion in Diana's life was never only decoration. It was a gentle tool that helped her connect with people in ways the formal rules of royalty sometimes prevented. And as the years moved forward, her wardrobe choices would become even bolder. One evening, a single black dress would send a message heard around the world. That moment would later be remembered as the night of the revenge dress. But the story behind it begins with several quieter wardrobe decisions that came before. Little by little, Diana learned how clothing could express independence. A shorter hemline here, a confident colour there. Each change seemed small, yet together they told the world she was slowly finding her own voice. Royal watchers noticed the transformation. The shy nursery assistant who entered the palace in 1981 was growing into a confident global figure. And through it all, the wardrobe remained one of her quietest yet strongest forms of expression. In the next part, we will explore even stranger details, including the hidden signals behind famous dresses, secret tailoring tricks used by royal designers, and the surprising story behind that unforgettable night in 1994. Those moments reveal how carefully Diana used fashion to speak when royal rules limited her voice. They also show how a simple dress can carry courage, dignity, and quiet defiance. The deeper we look, the more meaning appears between the stitches, and some of the most fascinating stories are still waiting ahead in the next chapter of her remarkable wardrobe journey. Those secrets may change how you see royal fashion forever as well. As the early 1990s arrived, something subtle began to change in the way Princess Diana dressed. At first, the public could not quite explain it. Her clothes still looked elegant. They still followed royal form. Yet there was a new sense of control, and almost as if Diana had quietly taken ownership of the language she had been learning for more than a decade. Many royal watchers later said her wardrobe began to reflect her growing independence. Colours became bolder, lines became simpler. She started choosing designers who listened closely to her personal ideas rather than strictly following palace tradition. One example involved the famous British designer Catherine Walker, who became one of Diana's most trusted collaborators. Walker understood that the princess wanted clothing that moved easily when she walked into hospitals, schools, and charity centres. Diana explained that she needed outfits that allowed her to kneel beside children, sit comfortably with patients, and travel long hours without stiffness. So many dresses were designed with hidden stretch panels and carefully placed seams. These small tailoring details allowed her to move freely without losing the graceful shape expected of a royal figure. When the public saw the finished gowns, they appeared effortless. But behind that simplicity was careful engineering. Some historians believe this period marked the moment when Diana fully realized the power of clothing as communication. If every photograph would travel around the world within hours, then every dress could quietly tell a story. Around this time, she also began choosing what some fashion editors called listening clothes. These were outfits designed to feel calm and welcoming, rather than grand or distant. Soft blues, gentle creams, and relaxed jackets appeared more often. The effect was subtle, but powerful. Patients meeting her for the first time often felt less intimidated. Diana did not look like a distant royal figure standing above them. She looked like someone who had come simply to sit and listen. If you remember seeing those visits on television during the early 1990s, many people say the same thing today. The atmosphere felt warmer when Diana entered the room. Her clothing helped create that feeling without drawing attention to itself. You might share your memory in the comments if you recall those moments. Personal reflections often help bring history closer to life, especially when discussing a figure who touched so many people. Another strange detail from her wardrobe involved shoes. Royal women traditionally wore very elegant high heels during formal appearances. Yet Diana was already quite tall. Standing beside Prince Charles, she sometimes felt uncomfortable appearing taller in photographs. To solve this quietly, she often chose slightly lower heels during events where they appeared together. Designers later explained that she requested shoes that looked elegant but reduced the height difference in photographs. It was a thoughtful gesture. She wanted public images to feel balanced rather than awkward. Most viewers never noticed. Yet again, her wardrobe had been carefully planned for the camera. But Diana's clothing choices were not always about comfort or kindness. Sometimes they carried quiet messages that only careful observers understood. One famous example involved the colours she wore during certain public events after reports of difficulties in her marriage began appearing in newspapers. Fashion journalists noticed that Diana occasionally chose strong, confident colours during these moments. Deep reds, bold black gowns, and striking jewellery began appearing more frequently. According to several royal commentators, this was not accidental. Colour can influence how a person appears in photographs. A darker or more dramatic shade can communicate strength and control. Diana seemed to understand that instinctively, and this quiet awareness would lead to one of the most unforgettable wardrobe moments in royal history. On the evening of June 29, 1994, Diana stepped out of a car in London wearing a sleek black off-the-shoulder dress. The design was elegant but daring compared to traditional royal fashion. The dress showed confidence. It carried a sense of freedom. That same evening, Prince Charles was appearing on national television discussing his marriage in a documentary interview. The timing could not have been more dramatic. Photographers immediately captured images of Diana arriving at the Serpentine Gallery summer party. Within hours, newspapers around the world were printing photographs of the dress. Fashion editors later called it the revenge dress. The name sounded dramatic, yet many historians believe Diana's intention was quieter and more personal. She wanted to show strength. She wanted the world to see that she was no longer the shy young woman from the early 1980s. The dress had actually been waiting in her closet for several years. According to reports, she had once considered it too bold for royal expectations. But on that evening, she decided it was exactly right. Designer Christina Stambolian, who created the dress, later said she was surprised when the photographs appeared. Diana had purchased it earlier, but had never worn it publicly. That moment revealed something fascinating about her wardrobe habits. Some dresses were carefully saved until the right moment arrived. Clothing again became part of a larger message. If you find stories like this interesting, subscribing to the channel helps ensure you do not miss future explorations of royal history. Many viewers enjoy these calm reflections on the lives behind famous public images. Yet even as Diana grew more confident, she continued using wardrobe tricks that served practical purposes. For example, several of her evening gowns included slightly thicker fabric around the waist and hips. This tailoring detail helped dresses maintain smooth lines during long events when she might sit, stand, and move frequently. Photographers captured thousands of images during a single appearance, and designers knew that a gown had to look graceful from every angle. Small structural adjustments inside the fabric made that possible. Another unusual habit involved how Diana packed clothing for overseas tours. Royal travel schedules were extremely demanding. She might visit several countries within a few weeks, with different climates and cultural expectations. To prepare, her team often organised outfits into carefully planned sequences. Each dress matched specific events, local customs, and even expected lighting conditions during evening receptions. In warmer countries, she selected lighter fabrics and brighter colours. In more formal diplomatic settings, she chose structured suits and subtle jewellery. But Diana sometimes made last-minute changes. If she felt a particular event required warmth rather than formality, she would choose a softer outfit even if the schedule suggested something grander. These staff members later said she trusted her instincts about people more than strict planning. This flexibility became another quiet wardrobe secret. Fashion was not only about appearance, it was about emotional connection. One touching example occurred during her visits to landmine survivors in Angola in 1997. Diana chose simple protective clothing rather than royal elegance while walking through the minefields. She wore a visor helmet and a plain protective vest provided by the aid organization. Those images traveled across the world. The clothing looked practical rather than glamorous, yet the message was powerful. Diana was not standing far away observing the problem. She was walking directly through the dangerous ground to understand it. The outfit itself became a symbol of courage. Another strange wardrobe detail involved how she handled jewelry during sensitive visits. Diana often avoided heavy diamonds when meeting people facing serious illness or hardship. Instead, she chose smaller pieces or simple pearl earrings. According to several aides, she believed large jewels could create emotional distance during those encounters. This sensitivity again showed how deeply she thought about clothing choices. Yet there was still another secret hidden inside her wardrobe that few people discovered until after her death in 1997. Over time, Diana had collected hundreds of dresses from designers around the world. Many of them had appeared in famous photographs and historic royal tours. But in the final years of her life, she began giving many of these dresses away. Some were donated quietly to charity auctions. Others were sent directly to organizations supporting hospitals, humanitarian work, and children's causes. In June 1997, just weeks before her death, a major charity auction was held in New York. 79 of her dresses were sold to raise money for cancer research and AIDS charities. The event raised millions of dollars. For Diana, this was more than a fundraising effort. It marked a symbolic moment. She was letting go of the wardrobe that had defined her years inside the royal system. Fashion, which had once felt like a royal uniform, was now being transformed into support for causes she cared about deeply. Many observers later described the auction as a quiet turning point in her life. The dresses that once filled palace closets were now helping hospitals and research centres around the world. If you remember hearing about that auction at the time, you may share your thoughts below. Moments like this show how personal choices can ripple outward and touch many lives. Yet there are still several surprising wardrobe details we have not explored. Some involve hidden tailoring tricks used by palace dressmakers, and others reveal the emotional meaning behind certain accessories Diana wore again and again. And one final story involves a piece of jewelry that carried deep personal symbolism during the last years of her life. These final strange facts reveal something powerful about the woman behind the famous photographs. Her wardrobe was never simply decoration. It was a quiet diary written in silk, pearls, and color. In the final part of this documentary, we will explore those last hidden details and reflect on what Diana's wardrobe still teaches us today about empathy, courage, and personal expression. Some of these stories are surprisingly moving, and one final wardrobe secret may change the way you think about the relationship between clothing and compassion forever. As the final years of Princess Diana's life unfolded, her wardrobe began to tell a quieter and deeper story. The bright dresses and carefully chosen suits were still present, but something had shifted in the meaning behind them. By the mid-1990s, Diana was no longer dressing only as a member of the royal family. She was slowly shaping a new identity of her own. Many royal historians believe this period revealed the most personal side of her wardrobe secrets. The clothes she chose were not simply about public image. They reflected growth, reflection, and sometimes even healing. One detail often mentioned by biographers involved her increasing preference for simplicity. Earlier in her royal life, Diana had worn many elaborate gowns with dramatic sleeves and rich decoration. That style reflected the fashion of the 1980s, when royal appearances often felt grand and theatrical. But by 1995, her choices became calmer. Dresses were sleeker, colours were stronger but cleaner. Jewellery was lighter. The change surprised many fashion observers. Designer Gianni Versace became one of the creators who understood this transformation. His designs for Diana combined elegance with modern simplicity. Smooth fabrics and clean lines replaced the heavier styles of earlier years. Some fashion editors later said these dresses reflected a woman who had found confidence after years of intense public pressure. The shift also carried emotional meaning, and during interviews and private conversations described by friends, Diana often spoke about wanting to live a life focused on compassion rather than ceremony. Her wardrobe slowly followed that philosophy. It no longer tried to impress the royal court. Instead, it helped her move easily through hospitals, charity events, and humanitarian visits. Even her colour choices became more thoughtful. When visiting children's wards, she often selected bright colours that looked hopeful in photographs. When meeting families facing grief or illness, she chose softer tones that felt respectful and calm. These small choices rarely appeared in headlines, yet the people she met often remembered them years later. A nurse who met Diana during a hospital visit once said something simple but meaningful. She said the princess seemed to dress in a way that made others feel comfortable rather than making herself stand out. That may be one of the most unusual wardrobe secrets of all. In the 1990s, Diana wore lightweight scarves in ways that reflected local traditions. When visiting Middle Eastern countries, she sometimes placed the scarf gently over her hair as a sign of cultural respect. These moments were small but thoughtful. Photographs from those visits often show local women smiling warmly when they saw the gesture. Cultural awareness became another quiet part of her wardrobe language. The same thoughtful approach appeared in her choice of jewellery. One particular piece stood out during the final years of her life. It was a sapphire ring surrounded by diamonds. The ring had originally been chosen as her engagement ring in 1981. After her separation from Prince Charles, and Diana continued wearing it during certain public appearances. To some observers, the choice seemed surprising, but according to several close friends, the ring carried personal meaning beyond its royal history. It represented the years of her life that had shaped her, including the birth of her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry. Clothing and jewellery again became quiet symbols of personal memory. Yet perhaps the most touching wardrobe habit appeared in the way Diana reused certain familiar outfits when meeting people repeatedly over the years. If she visited the same hospital more than once, staff sometimes noticed that she wore a dress they had seen before. The choice was intentional. Diana once explained that wearing the same outfit could help patients recognize her more easily. The familiar dress created a sense of continuity, almost like greeting an old friend again. In the world of royal fashion, where new clothing often appeared at every event, this approach felt refreshingly human. If you enjoy these thoughtful details from history, you might consider subscribing so you can join future conversations. Many viewers share memories of how Diana's kindness affected their communities, and those reflections often enrich the story for everyone watching. Another strange wardrobe detail involved how Diana handled press attention during crowded events. Photographers constantly surrounded her, sometimes calling her name from every direction. To stay calm, she often used small grounding habits involving her clothing. Former aides recalled that she occasionally adjusted the cuff of her sleeve or gently held the edge of a handbag while walking through large crowds. These tiny movements helped her maintain focus while dozens of cameras flashed. Such habits may sound simple, but they reveal how intense public life had become. Imagine stepping outside and knowing that every movement might appear in newspapers across the world the next morning. Clothing became part of the way she managed that pressure. Yet despite the challenges, Diana's wardrobe continued to carry moments of lightness and warmth. During one charity event in the mid-1990s, she arrived wearing a playful pastel suit that seemed unusually cheerful for a formal occasion. When a guest complimented the colour, Diana reportedly smiled and said she thought the day needed a little sunshine. That gentle humour often appeared in her fashion choices. Sometimes she chose bright colours simply because they made people smile. And that leads to one of the most meaningful facts about Princess Diana's wardrobe. For many years after her death in August 1997, museums and exhibitions around the world displayed some of her most famous dresses. Visitors often stood quietly in front of them. At first glance, the gowns looked beautiful, but ordinary. A blue evening dress, a soft pink suit, a simple black gown. Yet people who remembered Diana often felt something deeper when they saw them, when each dress carried memories of a moment when she used her public role to connect with others. A dress worn during a visit to children with cancer, a suit chosen for a meeting about homelessness, a protective vest worn while walking through landmines in Angola. The clothing itself was only fabric, but the moments attached to those clothes were powerful. In the years since, historians and fashion experts have continued studying Diana's style. Many now agree that her wardrobe quietly changed the expectations placed on royal figures. Before Diana, royal clothing often emphasized distance and formality. After Diana, many members of the royal family began dressing in ways that felt more approachable and practical during charity work. Her influence reached beyond fashion magazines. It shaped how compassion could appear in public life. One final wardrobe story brings this reflection to a gentle close. Near the end of her life, Diana spoke with a friend about the dresses she had donated to charity auctions. She reportedly said something thoughtful about the decision. Those dresses had once represented glamorous evenings and royal ceremonies. Yet she felt happier knowing they were now helping hospitals and medical research. Clothing that once filled palace closets was now helping strangers she would never meet. That simple transformation captured the spirit behind many of her wardrobe choices. If fashion had begun as part of her royal duty, over time it became a quiet tool for kindness. When people remember Princess Diana today, they often recall famous photographs or dramatic headlines. But sometimes the most revealing details are much smaller. A pearl bracelet moving gently as she held someone's hand. A bright yellow dress bringing warmth to a hospital room. A simple protective vest worn while walking through dangerous ground to highlight the suffering of others. And each piece of clothing told a story about the person wearing it. And perhaps that is the deepest lesson hidden inside the strange facts of Princess Diana's wardrobe. Clothing can express beauty and status, but it can also express empathy. For Diana, the most important question was never simply, how does this look? The question was often quieter. How will this make someone feel? That thoughtful approach turned dresses, scarves, and jewellery into something more meaningful than fashion, and they became small bridges between a princess and the people she hoped to help. Decades have now passed since her life ended so suddenly in 1997, yet those images remain vivid for many people around the world. Not only because the dresses were elegant, but because behind each one stood a woman trying, in her own gentle way, to bring kindness into places where it was deeply needed. And in the quiet language of her wardrobe, that message still speaks today.